All right, welcome back to Fleccas Talks, a podcast, episode 239. Today on the show, the cartels are now considered terrorist organizations. We'll tell you what that means when it comes to combating them. Then, Elon and Trump are proposing a Doge dividend of up to $5,000 per taxpayer. We'll tell you how they got that idea from us. Then, Kash Patel has been confirmed as FBI director. We'll tell you why that's great. And last but not least, in Urban Decay, a woman is a victim of a hit job. We're going to show you how it went down. All this and more, it's Fleccas Talks, the podcast, episode 239, ranked the best news podcast of all time.
Because words are just words until action actually starts. And actions speak louder than words. But at the same time, words speak louder than actions because sometimes it's the right thing to do. Very cool. Very cool.
It's Fleccas Talks, the podcast featuring Richard Grab.
All right, one for one on the intro, as always. Guys, our country just witnessed Donald Trump overcome political persecution, an assassination attempt, and the entire deep state in order to regain the presidency in a historic victory. There's one secret ingredient that allowed Trump to do all of this, and that is testosterone. What most people don't realize is testosterone makes men willing and eager to take on challenges, but sadly, too many of us have lost our fight, and that's exactly how the globalists want us. They want us weak, out of shape, and full of microplastics and estrogen with low T. That's why we've decided to partner with Chalk. Chalk offers a whole lineup of products formulated to increase your energy, focus, detoxify your body, and clinically studied boost your testosterone. Ingredients in the Chalk Male Vitality Stack have been clinically studied to boost free testosterone by 87% in just 21 days. Unlike the gimmicky vegetable pills or powder, you will feel the difference, and they have the clinical studies to back it up. And right now, you can get 25% off of your Chalk subscription for life. Just go to chalk.com, CHOQ.com, and use promo code Fleccas. And the best part, you can cancel easily at any time. Chalk is made in America, and their all-American customer service team is standing by and ready to assist you. Let's make male vitality great again. Get your Chalk today. CHOQ.com is the website, promo code Fleccas, and you could also call them at 50-CHALK-3000. Everything is linked in the description. Thank you to Chalk for sponsoring. Let's get into housekeeping. All right, thank you to Chalk for sponsoring.
Thank you, Chalk.
Very important to get your testosterone up, especially with how things are going. You know, everything's going great, but things can go bad fast, and we're going to need some Chad dads out there.
For sure.
All juiced up. All right, we have a lot to get to. Happy Friday, Richard.
Thank you.
It's a Friday episode. The weekend's here. We made it through another week. Time's just trickling through our fingers, it feels like.
Slipping through our fingers all the time.
Absolutely. Well, let's just get right into the show. We have so much to cover. Every episode's been so dense that we might as well not waste any time.
Okay.
First things first, Kash Patel was confirmed as the new FBI director. Surprise to me. I thought they were going to try to stop that one with everything they had.
Yeah, and they got close. 51-49 was the final confirmation vote. But Kash, if the deep state Democrat uniparty had the power, Kash would not be confirmed. So it kind of, to me, rings like Trump's on a different level these days.
Yes, big time. And then obviously Kash is a huge piece when it comes to disclosure and all the conspiracy theories, all that transparency. Like, he's the man for that. That's what he's been trying to do. He knows where the bodies are buried. So very much looking forward to Kash Patel entering the FBI office. We have some old votes here to add some perspective. Robert Mueller, 98-0 confirmed. James Comey, 93-1. Christopher Wray, 92-5. But then Kash Patel, 51-49.
All of a sudden, it gets really partisan, even though all the three others were just total Democrats.
Yeah.
James Comey, you seen the guy's Instagram?
It's a mess.
It's a mess. He wears the shirts. He does all the talking points.
He's acting like a lady, too. He wears LGBT stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And then also this type of, a guy like Kash who's going to come in and top down, change kind of the way the FBI works. And, you know, we often hear the phrase from Democrats, actually, about people being emboldened. And I think Kash is going to embolden some people, like some old school type of agents. And then he's going to obviously hinder the stupid, political people. So
And he makes everyone go to jail.
some are going to go to jail. Yeah. But no, I think the average agent to do like the stuff that really matters instead of the political operative motivated stuff.
Yeah,
So,
I'm hoping for the best, and we needed him.
good luck, Cash.
Next, we have
Don't disappoint us, please.
Yeah, he won't. He won't.
I don't think he will either, but please, Cash.
Don't let us down
can't.
personally.
Yeah.
Next,
Go after something Indian so we know you're really, call center. Hit a call center, Cash.
That's a good point.
I'm not trying to offend anybody, but like, let us know.
Crack down on the scams.
Exactly.
All right, we have a Delta update from that crash from earlier in the week.
Yeah.
The Delta people are getting paid out. Everyone who was on board is getting paid out $30K per person.
Yeah, I think that's just an offer so far. So
That's not even good. I thought they were going to get paid like $1 million each.
So it's funny you say that because I looked it up, and the people from the Sully crash.
What that movie was with Tom Hanks.
Yeah, Sully. Oh, the fucking water.
Gotta put the bird down in the Hudson.
Aaron Eckhart's here too. They got $5K. So
$5K for a water landing?
that's what I'm saying. Well, that's the difference here. As we know, we don't know much about the pilots, but we do have a name. We're going to get to it. But Sully kind of saved everyone's life. That was a dual engine failure, double bird strike. So American, I think that was American. Or maybe it was US, whatever. Anyway, they go, hey, Sully saved your life. Here's $5K.
$5K?
Yeah.
That's not a lot. And then we have some more information on the pilot. This was the first piece that came out. It was just a text message. And it said, guess who flew that Delta plane? Who? Woman who just got her ATP.
Yeah.
So we saw that originally, and we were like, all right, it could be anyone saying that. But then we do actually have the information.
Yeah, the Delta/Endeavor plane. It's Endeavor doing business as Delta. It's like a regional aircraft. It's a smaller plane. It's not a mainline plane. Was piloted by Kendall Swanson. This post says, a year ago, she was an instructor pilot for small propeller aircraft, recently licensed to co-pilot a small jet.
And she's apparently 26 years old, and I guess this is one of her first big flights.
Yeah, here's a picture of her. And, we don't want to say like someone who was just recently doing propeller aircraft, and because that's how it goes. You work your way up on aircraft. But she was new, is the point.
She was new, and we called this early. I mean, I called this early on the last episode. I said it was a DEI woman pilot situation, and I think I was fully correct. And there's a huge difference. When I saw that crash, I knew it was a woman flying, because if a man came down and it wasn't looking right, he'd go, this doesn't feel right, I'm pulling up.
Yeah.
But when it's a woman who just got certified and the plane's coming down, she's probably like, well, it's supposed to be a little scary. Here we go. And then boom. Because, it's supposed to be a little scary.
Yeah.
And it's not that scary. You flip the plane and it almost went on fire.
I actually completely agree with that assessment. That there's that difference in everything should be exactly right versus, maybe I should be nervous. There is that dog in you. That X Factor dog in you, and I think you worded it right.
Big time. And then that company, Endeavor, that was flying on behalf of Delta, they always took pride. They had these posts earlier in the year where they took pride in an unmanned flight, they called it. There's a tweet. Can you read the tweet?
Who run the world? Girls. When I have an unmanned crew, I noted in my welcome announcement. Some parents even ask to take a photo to show their daughters. I'm so glad to show the next generation of girls what they can achieve. Captain Pamela Nucifore.
And now everyone's almost dead.
Yeah, and Delta's paying out some cash for that.
Wouldn't you not want an unmanned crew? Say there was a terrorist hijacking.
At least they let people know. Yeah, I agree.
And then imagine there's a terrorist hijacking and they get into the cockpit. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
Where do you want to take it?
The door's locked. They're slowly chipping away at it. Nobody can overpower them. You're just hoping some high school wrestling team is on the plane too.
Yeah. So we blame DEI and we were proven correct within a few hours. That's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
I actually have a list here of companies that are still doing DEI because obviously there's a huge crackdown and there's a public rejection of DEI across the board. But we have companies still doing DEI, Auntie Anne's, United Airlines, Jamba Juice, Cinnabon, Moe's Southwest Grill, Wegmans, Giant Grocery, whatever.
So the mall, Auntie Anne's, Jamba Juice, and Cinnabon, those are mall companies.
Yeah.
That's those are kiosks. Those aren't even real businesses. So we can kind of put those away.
Or if you go to Auntie Anne's, prepare to choke.
Yeah.
I don't know.
On a cinnamon twist pretzel. I don't know. Those ones I'm not as worried about. United Airlines, that one pops out at me as crazy.
Yeah, that stands out to me too.
Kroger, that's grocery, that's supply chain. That's some listeria in your salad type shit.
Sounds about right.
So Auntie Anne's, Jamba Juice, Cinnabon, low on the list.
Use this list to control your shopping and spending. I don't plan on ever going to those companies again.
Oh, Cinnabon.
Someone else go for me
At
to
an
Cinnabon.
airport? Yeah.
I'll have someone deliver Cinnabon to me.
All right.
All right, next. This is great news. The cartels are designated as terrorist organizations. There's a whole list. Can you read the tweet and the list?
Yeah, the U.S. State Department under President Trump has officially designated the following as foreign terrorist organizations: Tren de Aragua, MS-13, Sinaloa, Jalisco New Generation Cartel, United Cartels, Northeast Cartel, Gulf Cartel, Michoacan family.
The whole family.
They got a lot of cartels.
They got a lot. And that's how their whole country operates.
Yeah.
And the good news about this is now we can hit them with drone strikes.
Yeah, this is literally, that is the plot of Sicario. That's like the whole meeting. These government guys ask Josh Brolin, he's in the CIA, he's like a CIA State Department operator. That's how the whole plot starts is you can tell this is how we can combat them now.
And they say something like, whoa, what's the protocol? And it's like, full weapons go,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And then also I saw this tweet. The CIA under President Trump has been covertly flying MQ-9 Reaper drones over Mexico to spy on the cartels. I like Reaper drones.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Sounds very good.
Hey, a Reaper drone keeps circling. You think we're in danger? It's like, yeah, it's in the fucking name,
Yeah,
brother.
it's $2 million and it's like planning to kill you.
It's called the Reaper. And yeah, we'll see. You know, I'd like to see some targeted stuff or at least some chaos, disruption of their things. It's so funny to see Tren de Aragua, and it's like they were living in Colorado. Yeah. Now they're terrorists. It's that easy. And it just shows the administration's will to do something about it, right?
Love that.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into our Doge section. This has been the talk of the town all month.
And hopefully soon, Doge is taking a lot of the headlines. Hopefully we get some FBI stuff coming down the pipe soon. That'll be, nice to see.
Some disclosure, some transparency. We're going to hopefully have a new main topic of the show soon.
Yeah.
But we've been obviously covering a lot of Doge. Doge just revealed that the government sent $4.7 trillion in untraceable payments. Oops.
Yeah.
That's like, 15% of our national debt or something?
Yeah, it's a high number. I think
I don't know.
National's at like 37 or something, so it's over 10% or 38. I don't know the time period this was over. This could have been going back several years. But I've noticed, I don't think we're going to talk about it, but have you noticed the leftist argument against Doge now is that Doge is exaggerating how much their savings are? So it's interesting to see. They've moved on from not even defending the horrible spending that people find to just, they're exaggerating.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
It's
And
interesting.
Don't forget, too, in Trump's first term, they wouldn't give him $11 billion for the border wall.
Yeah.
We fought for that for like weeks and months, shutting the government down. Couldn't scrap together $11 billion for the border wall, but the illegals ended up costing us $150 billion per year, and that was years ago before it got really bad. And then USAID has been doing who knows what with $40 billion a year for the last few years.
Well, and it's interesting because they always say Congress controls the purse strings, right? Congress controls the spending in America. But then all these Doge and federal employee things kind of show that the executive branch can control a lot of it as well. So it's weird, but he can't like originate it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he can't get $11 billion for the border wall. That does have to go through Congress, but he can behead a lot of the spending.
Exactly. And then we do have a tweet from Elon that kind of exposed the Democrat plan and what they were doing with all this spending.
He said the real reason so many Democrats are upset about entitlements, Social Security, medical, etc., fraud investigations, is that they are using your taxpayer money as handouts to attract and retain illegal immigrants, their future voters. That's what it's all about.
And we've been saying that forever. It's so obvious.
We have. It's nice to see a guy like Elon kind of talk about that. So.
Yeah. And then I found...
Obviously. Why do you think California spends so much money on illegals?
They just want a better life. They just want to help out.
They just want power. And then Gavin Newsom and his goons, who he anoints to come next, they want power forever.
And that's how you get it. You pay them off.
And they wanted to do that for the whole country of America, right?
And we almost had it. Imagine if things went different in 2024, election-wise. And then our next story here, we have someone who was getting interviewed by Doge, and listen to how it played out. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, this is Luke Rosiak said at 4:30 p.m., Leland Dudek's boss put him on leave for helping Doge find fraud. They want to fire me, he wrote. I confess, I helped Doge understand SSA, Social Security Administration. Within hours, it was his boss who was fired, and the longtime SSA waste watcher was elevated to lead the whole agency.
I like that.
That's kind of how it happens. We just move chess pieces around. Are we getting what we want? Yes. Great. Leave it. Are we not? Okay, behead that guy. This guy who betrayed his boss, let's elevate him. You know, It's Game of Thrones.
It's Game of Thrones, and who's playing ball and who was playing ball and who wants to play ball with the good guys. That's how it goes down.
Everyone's going to play ball, but you got to pick a team.
Big time.
And we're elevating people on our team now. That's called control, and that's called exercising power, right?
Yeah, that's how it should go down. And then earlier in the week, the IRS fired 6,000 people.
Yep.
That's huge. Love that. All those people were tracking down every penny, every Venmo over a certain amount so they can get their money for transgender surgeries on animals or
so
whatever.
They can send it to Guatemala. You know?
And then let's get to the big piece, the big story of the day, the thing that I was looking forward to most and hoping most was going to happen. Elon Musk says that Americans could receive $5,000 checks using Doge savings, and they're calling it a Doge dividend.
Yeah, the plan would send 79 million households a total of $400 billion, which is 20% of Doge's projected savings by 2026. And this would only be, the main thing is that it would only be per tax-paying household. So this doesn't go to everybody. It ain't like COVID. It's basically a refund for people who have been paying taxes. And people who have been paying taxes are more responsible, usually have a family. A lot of times they invest and make smart financial decisions. So the king crab legs, I don't think, are going to dry up after this type of stimulus.
That's a good point.
But I don't know. There are some other people who are saying that it would cause inflation, which is a fair argument, especially in the era of inflation that we're in. But I think a key piece of it is already, it's more of a refund than it is a stipend.
We're not just printing money and handing it out.
Yeah.
These are like paused and stopped contracts. That would be huge. That would be really, really huge. That would feel good for a lot of people. That would help Trump's poll ratings as well. And then also Trump is still hinting at and talking about getting rid of the IRS completely and replacing income tax with tariffs. If he were to do that, he'll be elected for the next 5 elections.
Yeah, we're going to have to change some rules to keep electing him. And then another interesting piece of this, the whole, when we were talking last episode about the like $10 million going to some dumb thing, the circumcision in Mozambique, right? And how I said that's 500 families' tax bill. According to Tax Policy Center data, 40.1% of all tax filers in the U.S. are considered non-paying. So this 59% of households are actually supplying money to the government.
Yeah.
So it's just really fascinating when we were talking about the waste and how many families and how many households. It's like we already have a huge chunk of America who's not even helping. And then we're wasting yours on the Mozambique circumcisions. So it makes you mad. And then maybe you do deserve $5K. How much have we been overpaying, over the past 10 years, right?
It'll feel good to get that $5K check.
Yeah.
Well, we're moving on now to the final page of housekeeping. Believe it or not, that was quick. But we have 2 final pages of housekeeping where I can talk about whatever I want. Make sure you guys use the
2 final pages. Wait, that wasn't part of the deal.
Final pages of housekeeping.
No.
Make sure you guys use the opportunity to tickle the post. Help us juice the algo. Leave a like, leave a comment again, then start yapping. P.O. Box needs to be full. Notifications need to be on. Old episodes need to be watched.
Okay.
And happy Friday. All right. Our first story from the final pages of housekeeping, Malcolm in the Middle, that show we were talking about the other day, great childhood show. Mm-hmm. One of our favorites, formative years, we watched that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, apparently Disney Plus is bringing it back. And can you read what the headline says?
Malcolm's sibling will come out as non-binary in the revival series coming to Disney Plus.
Thanks, Disney.
So Disney Plus outweighed Malcolm in the Middle. They said, let's make it non-binary.
Let's subvert it.
And then there's probably, how it is in Hollywood. It's all leftist, right? And then they introduce a non-binary character, and some people are like, should we do this? And then they won't speak up. But then everyone else is like, oh yeah, that's normal. They genuinely think there's no problem with that. Yeah, that's normal. They have to play that game. And then everyone else just rolls their eyes, and normal Americans are like, how am I explaining this to someone?
And everyone wants to keep their job. They work at Disney. You're not going to really put up a fight. Yeah. And it's Modern Family. Again, it's Modern Family.
Yeah.
Because a Modern Family years ago, that was one where you had the gay uncles, and they're great dads, and they're quirky and fun. And they have that funny guy, that gay guy from The Producers.
Yeah, even the hard-nosed dad really likes the gay guys. We wrote it that way.
Yeah, they should have kids. That's not a big deal. You don't think gay guys can have kids? Look at these guys. Now, modern family is Malcolm the Middle's brother's non-binary.
Disappointing.
And also keep in mind Disney and Disney Plus play a big role when it comes to MK Ultra.
Oh.
And I was thinking about this the last few days. A lot of the Disney movies involve parents dying early in the movie, like Bambi, Lion King, Snow White is an orphan, and like that freaks the kids out. And then MK Ultra revolves around like trauma. It's like they inflict trauma on you and then they control you after. And like big picture that you could argue that was like 9/11 and COVID. That's like broad scale general population MK Ultra. But if you look at Disney and what they do, all these stories of like, Finding Nemo, he got separated from his parents, like Beauty and the Beast, she's locked away and her parents can't get to her. That freaks kids out, and that's like a scary thought when you're a little kid about your parent dying or your parent being away from you.
Interesting.
So there's something there. All right, let's get to our next story. Jeep is going to be playing ads in your car now.
Some Jeep owners are being hit with pop-up ads inside their cars, and it's all part of Stellantis's plan to make an extra $20 billion a year per Fortune.
There you go, Jeep owners.
Maybe Ted Kaczynski was on to something. You have to I think you have to pay for a subscription to not get ads in your new Jeep.
Congrats.
And you know what, actually, I think Stellantis, I don't know when they acquired Jeep. I know Jeep used to be Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler, Ram. It used to be, I think, with a different group, or I'm not exactly sure. I know some Jeep Wagoneers, they started selling those a little while ago. They were like $100,000. And people are absolutely underwater on those cars now.
That makes sense.
I think it's a Jeep right now is a run it into the ground.
Money grab.
Money extraction, max extract.
Max extract from Jeep. That makes sense.
So be aware. Head on a swivel, when you're searching for cars, right?
Or pick up a cheap one from someone underwater.
Yeah. That's true.
Next, this is a tweet that I thought was really insightful, and it sums up the left pretty well. Can you give that a read?
Leftism is basically like, okay, how can we prevent the next great man of history?
So true. Yeah. And lucky for us, that mindset and that attitude and that behavior is actually what will propel more great men to rise.
I agree.
They actually can't do it. It's like there is a cycle to it.
There's a half stifling, and if you try to half stifle, a great man will rise. If you fully stifle, then it's kind of weird.
Exactly.
But I agree.
Exactly. So, and then they just kind of do that also because they don't want great men to exist because it reminds them of how mediocre they are. So they'd rather make excuses and go, oh, you only are successful because you're white or because of racism or privilege or whatever their words are.
Yeah.
So that's just like sums up their attitude. Not everyone can hit a home run. Some people are in the stands. Some people are in the stands cheering for the team that loses.
Some people are barely literate, and then in the public schools of Baltimore, and there's nowhere to go, right?
But just because someone's successful doesn't mean it's because they manipulated and lied and made it off the backs of everyone else.
Yeah.
But they have that attitude of like, if this person's here, they only got there because this person's here, and that doesn't really work long term.
Yeah. Classic leftism hate tactic.
Yeah, exactly. And it's communism. All right, our next story and our final page of housekeeping, the EU greenlights worms in food, signed by Ursula von der Leyen. Can you read the details?
The EU has officially approved regulations permitting mealworms in common food products, including bread, pasta, processed potatoes, dairy, and even fruit compotes. Up to 4 grams of worms per 100 grams of food without clear labeling for consumers. This is an EU regulation personally signed by Ursula von der Leyen, the push for sustainable protein. Yeah.
And then, so people are going to be eating bugs, and it's not a suggestion, but a regulation. And I want to make it clear, if Trump had lost, I think this would be here. And let me cook on this for a sec.
Okay,
you ready? 4 grams per 100 gram serving, right?
Uh-huh.
And a meal, I did research. A mealworm weighs between 0.4 and 0.7 grams. So we're going to use 0.4 to make it worse.
Okay.
So say you're doing pasta night, date night, right? We're going to do pasta for 2 because a serving of pasta is 50 grams. 2 servings, 100 grams, helps with the math. So you're doing a little date night at your house, 100 grams of pasta, you and your woman.
You and Pete Buttigieg.
You and Pete Buttigieg light some candles, and you have your 100 grams of pasta divided by 2. You're eating 10 mealworms each. And I'm wondering, Richard, have you ever eaten pasta and thought, damn, I wish this was worms?
I wish I had more worms in here. No, I've never had that thought. Never had that thought.
And I was thinking, too, it is the final page of Housekeeping. They probably named mealworms a long time ago because they knew in 2025 the governments would put them in food, and then everyone who gets vaccinated will be like, well, it's called mealworms. You could probably eat it.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I had. And then there is one last thing.
The worst part about this, obviously, like a good restaurant is not going to start adding mealworms. Someone who's cutting corners in a grocery store or shitty brands or a Chinese company operating in Europe is going to be like, oh, mealworm. Yeah, put mealworm in there. And then the label without clear labeling for consumers. I thought the EU was good on food. They ban all like the red dyes and all the stuff that's still allowed in America. This is a curveball.
Very much
a Chinese company going to come take advantage.
And it's all going to be cheap processed crap, cheap pasta with fillers, and that's what they're going to use. And whenever I talk about eating bugs, people always say, well, Fleccas, you like seafood towers. Technically, shrimp and lobster are bugs. No, it's not.
Yeah.
What is it, chicken a bug too? It flies.
Yeah.
You know? Not the same.
There's a clear delineation. There's meat. I can taste the meat. I know what I'm eating. It's meat.
It's meat. Come on. All right, next.
They are bottom feeders, though.
Yeah, and they're
against certain religions.
Yeah, they're ocean bugs, maybe, but it's not bugs.
Not religions I'm a part of.
Yeah, me neither.
Free for all.
Seafood tower, times 2.
Run it back.
The multi-layer one. Let's cause a scene at the restaurant. That's literally what I'm up to. Yeah. All right, next we have some more information about SSRIs. We talked about this months ago, but it's coming back into the mainstream, especially with RFK getting in. Can you read that?
Yeah. You want me to read this first?
Yeah, read that bottom one.
It starts with a girl doing a snappy, I'm fucked up tweet, and she goes, SSRIs alter your brain. Yeah, I sure hope they fucking do. That's the whole point. There's a chemical imbalance in my brain. That's like being mad that insulin alters your blood sugar. That's the whole fucking point.
She's got it figured out.
She's sassy on Twitter, and she's on antidepressants. And then somebody, quote, tweeted this and said, they quietly announced, most likely by force, that depression is not at all caused by a chemical imbalance in your brain. Over a year, and literally nothing changed. They just keep selling meds based on a false premise. God only knows what they're doing to people long term.
So remember, we were always told the chemical imbalance in your brain, and then it kind of seems like it's bigger than you, so you can't fix it with like your diet or going outside or exercise or sunlight. And
it's an scapegoat, yeah.
Yeah, it's an scapegoat, exactly. But the idea that it's in your brain as a chemical imbalance, that was never accurate. But that always gave people the excuse of, well, now you need to take pills and SSRIs because this is something you can't solve on your own. It's a chemical imbalance. How are you going to balance chemicals? What are you, a scientist?
Yeah.
No. And that was always a lie. Yeah. So that's good to know. Mm-hmm. It's very important. All right, our last piece of our final page of housekeeping. Someone in China burned Ethereum, which means you send it to an address that's just like a burn address, and they burned $1.38 million worth of Ethereum. And in that burn, they had like a cryptic secret message. Can you read what it says?
Yeah, the bosses of Quande Investment, Feng Jin and Zhu Yuzi, used brain machine weapons to persecute all the company employees and former employees, and they themselves are also controlled. Brain computer chips have been militarized and deployed on a large scale, and all military powers are using base stations, radios, and nano-brain computer chips to control all citizens.
So someone burned a lot of Ethereum, meaning they just gave it away and let it go to zero, and then their message to the world was, hey, these Chinese companies are using computer chips to control their employees and people in general, and they themselves are controlled. Kind of scary. I think there's another quote, too. There was multiple burns. He burned 33 Ethereum as well, and he said, there is a new mode of crime in which the victim is gradually deprived of his desires until he becomes a complete slave to the digital machine.
So something's up. Somebody's spending a lot of money to get these cryptic messages out there. I think someone's messing with people's brains, is what you're saying?
Yeah, and then another message said, as brain-computer interface and mind-reading technology advances, a new crime is emerging where even wild animals are turned into digital slaves. So this guy is basically saying with all these burns that China has a brain chip that is controlling people and they're controlling them like robots.
All right.
That's exciting.
Good thing I'm not in China. This is some Blade Runner shit.
But
I don't know how I feel about that.
But if we went to war with China, and it's like, well, they would never invade us. But imagine if you had zombies who were just like D-Day storming.
250 million.
Yeah,
that's not even all their population. What is China up to a bill these days?
I think so.
I know India's a bill.
That's World War Z shit.
Yeah,
scary. All right, well, that's the end of housekeeping. We're now moving on to Cringe of the Week. Before we do, we have a special message from Farmer Bill. All right, guys, today we are slicing and dicing with Farmer Bill's new Damascus steel knife. I got it last week from Farmer Bill, and it is by far the nicest knife I own. It has a razor-sharp edge, which is perfect for slicing into Farmer Bill's 1-pound slabs. The handle is polished hardwood with an ergonomic grip, which allows for precise cutting. And best of all, it does not cost an arm and a leg like other knives on the market. You will not find a sharper knife for under $40. It's an absolute steal. If you haven't tried one of Farmer Bill's beef slabs, now is the time to stock up. The slabs are air-dried and cured with no sugar or artificial flavors. It's basically dry-aged ribeye, which is perfect for charcuterie boards or casual snacking around the house. Farmer Bill's has a whopping 160 grams of protein per pound, which is more than you would get from a grilled steak. So get some beef slabs and the new Farmer Bill's knife today, and you get an extra 15% off at checkout when you use code Fleccas15. The knife is perfect in the kitchen, but it's also rugged enough for hunting and fishing, so get one for yourself or someone you love. Load up on some beef slabs as well. FarmerBillsProvisions.com is the website. Fleccas15 is the code at checkout for 15% off. It's linked in the description as well. Thank you to Farmer Bills for sponsoring. Let's get into Cringe.
Farmer Bill's Provisions, the perfect protein snack.
All right, our first story from Cringe of the Week is a trans track and field star is dominating women, believe it or not.
Yeah, boy pretending to be a girl just won first place in the girls' Maine State Class B championship. Before he pretended to be a girl, he was 5th place on the boys' team. And here's a before pic as a guy, just 5th place, and here he is as a lady.
Now he's number 1.
Now his hair's like 3 inches longer.
It's feminine.
And then this guy, I thought an interesting part is he was John and now he's Katie. So he went from common name to common name. He didn't even care that much. He just won in first place.
What would your girl name be?
I would be big. I would be a big girl. As you guys know, I'd be a real 6'3". I'd be stomping around. So I'd have to pick a dainty name to be part of the trans community. So Lily, I haven't thought Rose,
Rose.
Something really feminine just to get the point
Long
across.
stem Rose.
Yeah. But, again, this is one of those weird things where it's like a high school kid.
Yeah.
And it's an older end of high school kid, right? But you kind of put yourself out there at the center of attention, doing the worst wrong thing. And then that ends up overriding your right to be a high school kid with privacy, right?
So true. And I thought we were done with this shit.
I thought we were too. Is someone ignoring an executive order here?
I think we got to report him to Cash.
I think we got to get into Maine, Cash.
I'd pick Cassandra as my name.
Okay. Nobody asked, but
I like Cassandra.
Okay.
Cassandra.
Okay. Like
Not
from
Cassandra.
Wayne's World.
Yeah, exactly. So while our women are getting dominated by men who don't know what gender they are, let's check in with China and see what women's sports look like over there. Yeah. Once again, China's doing reps.
It's funny though, because obviously China eventually got smoked by the US in women's volleyball, right?
Yeah.
So, they're doing reps like that, but I think they top out at a level.
They do,
But imagine if we did reps like that, how much we'd win by.
And I think we probably used to. I think their kids would beat our kids, but then once we grow to full size, we dominate the whole world.
Yeah.
But I think their, whatever age that is, would destroy whatever age, our kids in the same sport, you know?
I agree.
Next, we found this is actually a gem. I think this only had 20 likes on Instagram, came across my algorithm feed. This person has a message about men who can't control themselves.
Hey men, if you can't control yourself around women when they wear tight, revealing clothing, but lesbians and queer men can, then the problem is not with the clothing. You're just a fucking rapist.
So it makes you wonder, who can't control themselves? Are you talking about Pakistanis?
This person must hate migrants, and I don't know what kind of person this is.
They
It's
must
Pat.
hate migrants and migration. You must hate what's going on in Europe.
Yeah. This is actually something that I've noticed a lot of leftists do, and this is like some weird content thing. Like, I don't know what possessed this non-binary type to start filming themselves and do the content, but they imagine a character and then they hate that character.
Yeah, they make someone up, and then they go, this is everybody.
This thing in my mind that I just created, and now I'm pissed at it. You can't control yourself? It's like, you know how many people are in jail right now for literal rape?
Yeah.
And you know what the average, like, what they look like and who they are? Like, you can go to a courthouse and be like, you're boo, throw an egg at someone. It's like, you don't have to get online. Like, there are rapes
That's a
happening
good point.
out there, you know?
But they make it up in their mind, and they go, men are more dangerous than a bear.
I owned you. Fold
Yeah.
your arms and like, all right, man, I don't know. This is kind of like the same energy as the kill your local pedophile.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you go do it. I don't know who are you?
Someone should.
Yeah, exactly.
Not me. I just wear the shirt to remind people to do it.
It's a gun.
All right, next, while we're in Cringe, we have clips from a men's, is it men's or both?
I think it's both. Joy Camp.
Joy Camp, it's called. It's in upstate New York.
But really make sure you get, like, really zapped. Get zapped, right? Get zapped into laughter.
There's always a couple guys that aren't fully bought in, and then they ruin it for everyone else. That's who I would be.
Yeah, they're kind of looking around and they see someone zap somebody and they go, all right.
Zap back.
Same thing happens at those Andy Elliott sales conferences.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, you don't want to be here. Get out. And it's like, that's kind of the guy who could show people like, yo, this is kind of bullshit, right? We all paid $3,000 to be here. We're just getting yelled at. But interestingly enough, this thing, I looked into it before we brought it on Cringe, and they basically like take people's phones away, put you in upstate New York, do ice baths, and then this is probably the gayest end of the spectrum that they do.
Yeah, that is good. Like they're probably like rewiring people's dopamine addicted brains to get away from like scrolling on TikTok and caffeine abuse to laughing and doing a cold plunge and going outside. So it's not that bad, but this is just very gay.
This is the worst, gayest part of it. But yeah,
I'd skip that part.
there is like a detox and like make sure you can have fun without like being on the internet all the time mode.
With the phone this close to your face,
a
with the
blue light.
frying your brain.
Frying yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is gay. This is really gay.
It is. And I don't know if I've told this story before. When I first went to LA years ago, I did an improv class, and I went for like 5 weeks. And then one of the classes, they're like, all right, today's the shouting day. Everything we do is shouting. And I just said, oh, okay. I went to the bathroom and never went back.
Yeah.
I don't do that. So
I don't need this one.
Yeah, I don't need to learn any lessons. All right, let's get to our final piece of Cringe. There was an interesting
So
tweet.
Joy Camp, you gonna go? All
No.
right.
Are you?
No, of course not. It's
I'm not-
cringe.
I
It's
go
the
on-
cringe of the week. It's
Yeah.
not on the last page of housekeeping.
Definitely not going.
All right.
All right, our last piece of Cringe is there's a tweet that discusses kind of how the Democrat Party has been evolving when it comes to like their demographics. And then we have some examples of what that looks like. Can you give it a read?
Yep. This is from Cremu on Twitter. She says, paraphrasing a Democratic operative who I won't name, the Democratic Party is now less effective because the pro-Palestine movement was effective at marginalizing the party's Jews, and the party promoted black women to fill the empty spots.
That is interesting, and that makes sense. And then that's why we're seeing all the black women promoted.
Did you see, like, we showed the DNC speeches, and they were all, like, slinging the songs and being like, a black woman is speaking, pay attention.
Yeah.
So it kind of rings true. It's anecdotal, but it rings true so
They
far.
have Jasmine Crockett going around doing her rounds. She's really talking like she's running for president. She's wearing different outfits.
Yeah.
And she's like talking at a high level versus Trump. That makes it seem like you're the next up and you're going to run in 2028.
Yeah. And then Jewish to black woman fill in those gaps. That's a pretty big IQ swing.
It is.
Yeah.
That's a good point too. And then what does it look like when you elevate black women just because they're black? Well, we have an example. This woman is running for governor of New Jersey, and her name is Monica Brinson. And listen to what her campaign promises.
Louder. I'm gonna let a whole lot of black people out of jail, like on January 6th, how Trump did. We're gonna pardon a whole lot of black people for just small crimes like smoking weed. I don't know if you can hear me in the back. I'm gonna be letting a whole lot of black people out of jail.
Great. I'm sure that'll be good for New Jersey.
That's going to win a lot of votes, too. You're convincing people.
And I do believe her.
Yeah.
I do believe that is her goal. And if she were to win, I believe that is what she will do.
I do not believe she will win, but, she'll make us laugh along the way. And kind of like a journey. You have fun along the way. It's a joy camp of our own.
Exactly. And then when she doesn't win, they can use that as an example of racism.
Yeah.
She didn't win because everyone's a white privileged racist. Mm-hmm. And we have another example, speaking of, we said Jewish people were being replaced by black women.
In the Democratic Party.
And we're going to extrapolate that and zoom out a little bit. There's some more replacing going on. Can you give this headline a read?
Yeah, who else are black women replacing? Wicked movie actor Cynthia Erivo is cast to play Jesus in Jesus Christ Superstar at the Hollywood Bowl.
Very disrespectful.
So black women are taking Democrat political positions and Jesus' role.
And that's interesting. And this is being produced by Robert Greenblatt, who is Jewish, and then Neil Marin, who is gay and Jewish.
Wow. So they displaced Jewish people, black women displaced Jewish people in the Democratic Party, but then when it comes to Jesus being displaced by a black woman, it was Jewish people who did that. Is that what you're saying? Is that what I'm getting?
That's what I'm saying.
It's a full circle. I don't know.
But everyone's getting displaced if you're white.
Yeah, everyone moves over one rung, I guess.
And then there's no one saying, we're going to have more white guys in there to blah, blah, blah. So it's all white people getting replaced and knocked down a few pegs.
Again, though, this is good. Like the Democratic Party moving to loud, yelling black women, it's a total win for us. I think that turns off voters but they themselves, they can't police themselves. The Democrats can't be like, this is a huge turnoff. Like, the only guy yelling about it is that guy from Louisiana who's like that old timer who goes on TV and says it's too many loud yelling women. What's that guy's name again? I can't remember his name.
Me neither.
But he's like the only one who speaks truth in the Democratic Party, and it's just a totally losing strategy. So it's good for us.
Yeah, exactly. Don't get too down or too depressed. It's going to get a little worse. We're moving now into Urban Decay. All right, our first story of Urban Decay is, as we mentioned in the intro, that hit job on that woman, and we actually have the clip. And like we said, remember you mentioned Sicario?
Yeah.
This is like some Sicario hitman stuff. We'll let it play. This is from ABC News.
The victim walking out to her car. Watch as the suspect vehicle drives up. The suspect then approaching the victim. That suspect armed with a handgun. There's a fight over her purse, then a fight over the weapon. The victim doing everything she can to get away, then trying to run toward the restaurant. That's when the suspect, identified as Gerardo Llamas, opens fire, killing her.
Later on during the investigation, we located this SUV, being the suspect SUV, abandoned on the east side of town. In that vehicle, there was evidence leading us to additional suspects.
So how did they put it together? Well, police believe this suspect is the shooter, this suspect the getaway driver. The investigation revealed that the driver's brother actually worked for this suspect, who leased land at a pallet company from this suspect. And it turns out he is the victim's husband.
Wow. Good detective work.
Good detective work, but then like a murder for hire plot where like 5 people get strung up, you only need one.
It's true.
So they're all fucked now.
They're all fucked, and it's scary.
That wasn't Sicario. That was more like The Wire. That was really sloppy.
He had her, and then he started chasing her around the car, and it was a silenced gun. It was pretty scary.
Yeah.
And I have I don't know if this is the right time to say it because she ended up dying, but I feel like if you're ever in a situation like that and you're meant to live, God jams the gun. Like if someone pulled that on me, I wouldn't even be scared because God will jam that gun.
Or you'd be dead and you wouldn't know the difference.
I truly believe it.
All right.
All right, next, let's get to...
So what, are we learning anything here? Does this have anything to do?
Head on a swivel always.
Just caught on camera, murder for hire plot.
Yeah.
Still happening.
Still happening, head on a swivel. And then all those people looked illegal or illegal adjacent.
They didn't look like founding father stock Americans.
Yeah, it wasn't weren't Tom Homan types.
Yeah.
All right, next, I believe this is in Toronto. Yeah, this is in Toronto. So someone is in a fight and then someone tries to help, and look what happens at the end.
Looks like a white guy kind of going to work on a black guy.
And then another black guy comes on a scooter to help.
And he's going hard on him. And then this black guy comes in and he's like, all right, let's calm down, boys. This is getting out of hand, right? Let's break it up. And then the black guy who was originally getting beaten up tries to steal the other guy's scooter.
He tries to steal the scooter. And we have a little bit of a lesson here. The lesson is it's not the time to intervene with fights.
Yeah, and you don't know. It's like you run up on the scene and you don't know what led to it. This guy could have been the most cracked out, retarded person you've ever seen. It's not the time to get involved after seeing like, oh, gee, that's going a little too hard. A lot of times people deserve it.
And keep this in mind too. If a white guy is beating up a black guy, you know something must have actually happened, because white guys today are more hesitant than ever to beat up a black person because of perceived racism.
Yeah, he really crossed a line. If you see a white guy really pounding someone on the ground, he really crossed a line.
Something must have happened, because white guys now are not trying to be in fights and be, you know, Daniel Pennied and Derek Chauvin.
Yeah.
So if you see it happening, the black guy probably did something.
It's for a good reason. And then this is kind of the same thing. You remember that clip we showed where the woman was getting a fridge delivered and she freaked out?
Oh, yeah.
She freaked out and it was like in Georgia and she's like, no, you can't leave. I measured this. And then she's wrestling with two of the black mover guys on her front lawn. Like, you can't just pick a side. You got to know what happened. People are going nuts out here. And so it's kind of a walk-on by thing. You don't need to intervene.
Exactly.
Almost got your scooter stolen, brother.
Exactly. All right, our next story is a race hoax that was debunked. Some context before you watch the clip. Originally, people were saying that the cops shot this guy in the back and it was George Floyd too, and it's police brutality. And now there's a news story that kind of clears up what really happened.
Chief did not mince words. He is angry about a witness who appeared in one of our stories last night who claimed that he saw Flowood police shoot a suspect in the back who was trying to surrender. Today, he gave us a look at those dash cam images and an inside look at what he says really happened. A hail of bullets on Lakeland Drive at Treetops Boulevard Sunday just before 4 p.m. Authorities say Flowood police made a traffic stop. Flowood police released body and dash cam images of the incident to 16 WAPT. According to police, 18-year-old Jalen Robinson, booked just last month on a credit card fraud charge, jumped from the passenger side of that vehicle and took off running before turning to shoot a Flowood police officer.
So we saw the picture.
Yeah.
the witness gave basically a false report and said he was trying to run away and the cops shot him in the back. The guy's going like this with a gun right to the cops, right on
like
camera.
A Grand Theft Auto still frame.
But imagine if they didn't have that camera shot, or if they didn't have body cams and it was the witness versus the cops, everyone would be against the cops.
Body cams and dash cams have been such a good policy and have paid so many dividends, and it started as protecting the suspects. That was like, you can't beat me up or do something. And it's ended up protecting cops in so many situations too. It's just like been a great deal for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. All right, our next story is about migrants, kind of. We have businesses owned by illegals. There's a news report on that. Can you give that a play?
There are over 140,000 Hispanic businesses in the state of Illinois, quite a few owned by undocumented residents. Today, the Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce launched a campaign to make sure that all Latino businesses are protected from ICE. From the kitchen to the bar, immigrant business owners make up nearly a quarter of self-employed individuals in Illinois, pumping almost $3 billion into the economy, according to the Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. But not all owners have plans to keep their businesses going if they're deported.
Payroll, bills to pay, all that stuff. I'm the person who's dealing with that. So, yeah, I am worried every single day.
Angel Diaz is undocumented. However, he is in the final stages of getting his U.S. citizenship. Bringing his grandmother's recipes from Mexico City to Chicago, Diaz opened the Spilson restaurant by himself 9 years ago.
I mean, I've been working hard for so long, and I've been here for more than 25 years.
Oh, you should have came legally.
Yeah, but we're supposed to have sympathy now because you've been operating and like Democrats kind of let you do it.
And it's right up the alley of the Democrats where it's like, oh, it's the restaurant. And he's making his grandma's recipes at this restaurant. And he's been here and he works so hard. I'll just let him stay. There's a lot of businesses, it sounds like, owned and operated by illegals. And that's just one state. They mentioned 140,000 in Illinois. And that's just Hispanic.
That's Hispanic,
still.
yeah. But the point is, like, we have illegals running businesses in these sanctuary-type states, like, like Illinois, California, New York. Illegals who own businesses, and then they're illegal, and then you expect them to do all the paperwork and use a real social security number and do everything by the book. It's like retarded to think
follow
that
the health codes, and wash your hands.
Oh no, that's the only rule I didn't follow.
You need to get to a certain temperature on the food. You need to clean this, blah blah blah, in a certain way. We just ballpark it. I just do it how my grandma did it.
I didn't cut corners anywhere else except for being here legally, right? Like,
or if you're from India, it's like, I just cook how I cook over there.
Okay, you're gone. Yeah, I don't know. It's not like the worst thing on earth, but it's just very strange that all these states have fully allowed people to own a business, sign a lease, and then all these these paperwork and contractual agreements, and then inspection type things. And then at any point, you could just be deported, too.
Crazy.
So, yeah.
All right, our next story is from Canada, and it's in the same migrant theme. This guy is confronting, I think, like a bully at the park. We had to blur the contact point because it's like he strikes a kid, but look what happens here.
Oh, no, he can play whatever. You can't say that's my son. You can't say. You can't say that one's my son, okay?
Okay, bye-bye.
Just slapped that girl in the face.
Punched her, closed fist. And that was a 12-year-old girl that fully grown man punched in the face, that fully grown Canadian brown migrant type.
Canadian.
Yeah.
And that's who they brought in, and that's the kind of thing they do, because that's not out of the ordinary, I guess, where they come from. And then that guy got arrested, correct?
Yeah, he did. And he's between 40 to 50 years old, and he thought he'd punch a 12-year-old in the face.
For saying something, though not in a way he liked it. While we're talking about Canada, we have another story here. Police searching for suspect in fatal crash that killed 3 near Parry Sound.
And this was from late 2024, but the guy's name is Jagpreet Singh. Killed 3 people in a fatal crash.
He was drunk?
I don't know. It was just a fatal crash. But police are searching for him, so obviously something was wrong.
And it's in Canada, and it makes you wonder, like, if things weren't as progressive and leftist as they are now, there's no world where Jagpreet Singh would interact with, like, a Canadian family of 3.
Yeah.
The
politicians above you pulled some strings and moved some needles or something to get a guy named Jagpreet Singh into the country on some obscure reason, and now 3 of your family members are dead.
Yeah, completely altered the timeline.
Your destiny was never to die at the hands of someone named Jagpreet in Canada.
In Canada.
Maybe in a maple syrup accident. Maybe ice hockey, a skate cut your throat. But you were never meant to die from a guy named Jagpreet, and politicians made that happen.
Maybe the ice is too thin when you went fishing on the lake.
Yeah, you caught a walleye, but then you fell in and you froze to death. Those are the natural Canadian deaths that they took from you, and now you're dying from Jagpreet.
It's a good point.
So there's a little bit of a destiny timeline, maybe perhaps a Final Destination window opening.
That's a good point, too.
I don't know. I've been watching some Final Destination movies recently.
Once death doesn't like to be cheated.
Exactly.
And once you start the chain reaction, you have to...
I think Jagpreet messed with it somehow. I don't know.
And then I found this on Instagram. It's a post about Canada First buses on their way to Ottawa, and it's all Indian people. It was
posted by the Conservative Party.
And it was posted by the Conservative Party of Canada.
And I saw something... Just since we're on the Canada hate with punching a 12-year-old girl, getting killed by Jagpreet, and then the conservative busload of Indians, just while we're here on Canada, I saw Pierre, the guy who's running to be the right-wing version against Trudeau. He kind of recently came out with some immigration limits that was like, okay, only 250,000 to 350,000 a year. And it's just like you're getting 1 million people every 4 years
who are having like a ton of kids.
So it's not even, there's not even like a slowdown or like a reversal. It's just like, well, I'll do it too, but not as crazily. Yeah. So I don't really like that guy anymore. And I'm sure he's got some good policies and some common sense things. But immigration is kind of the only issue of the world right now. If you're a Western country, immigration is the issue. And everything's gone. Well, I guess we'll get to this next point.
Yep.
Sweden, an example, right? They've been ahead of it. A lot of the Western countries are kind of backtracking. And now Sweden is pushing ahead with its new immigration policy of paying migrants to leave and letting visas expire faster than they're approved. They're also working on denaturalization of criminals and letting foreign criminals serve sentences outside of Sweden.
Wow. And how much are they paying?
Immigration has failed so bad for Sweden that the Swedish state will pay migrants, including people with Swedish citizenship, $34,000 to return to their homeland.
Wow.
So that's a ringing indictment of how bad immigration has been for a very prosperous Western country. Like Sweden, Norway, they're obviously on the northern part of Europe, separated by seas and oceans. And then like now you're paying people to leave. So when Pierre Polivier or whatever his name is, the Canadian right-wing guy goes, well, only 1 million every 4 years. I get a little nervous that you're going to have to pay a lot more than $34,000 in a decade or so.
Yeah, big time. All right. Well, don't get too down or too depressed. Yeah. Moving on to Uplifting Gold.
Yeah. And Sweden will be back to normal at some point, right?
At some point, hopefully. We have a lot of uplifting stuff today. Before we do, I know it's not the final page of housekeeping, but I had this thing the other day where I had a really bad, violent headache. And then I went to bed and I could barely fall asleep. I just had like this horrible back of my head, pulsing, violent headache. And then I woke up and I felt great. And then I also woke up. What do you see there?
Spider bite?
No, a little dot, like where you put an IV into your hand right on my vein or on my artery. So I'm thinking during my sleep training, maybe they gave me an IV and that's why my headache went away.
All right. Let's move along, brother.
It's the end of the show. It's Friday. We're all hanging out, right?
Yeah.
All right. We have a lot of uplifting stuff. First is the Piper Pickle guy finding out if this bank is a pipe zone.
Pete, we're about to figure out if Liberty Bank is a pipe zone or not. All right, Liberty Bank's a pipe zone. Thank you guys.
They clap for him.
Patrick, now you guys are a pipe zone.
All right,
Open up, congratulations.
You're Pickle Pete?
Pickle Pete.
Thanks, Pickle Pete.
Thanks, Josh. Absolutely. Make sure to like and follow for
Pickle Pete.
It's a pipe zone.
It's a pipe zone. He's finding out what's a pipe zone and what's not. And I'm glad that bank went well.
There's a different level of prank where you're actually a skilled bagpipes player and you come in. And yeah, nobody expected it, but kind of nobody's going to turn it down either.
Start cranking it.
You know what I've noticed? There's only like one bagpipe song.
Yeah, it's that. It's that one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I like this kid. I like a bagpipe band too.
You should follow him on Instagram.
You know the Shannon Rovers? That's the Chicago bagpipe and then band. You know Murray?
I know Murray.
Murray's in that.
Murray's in that.
Yeah, remember?
Oh, and he played in New Orleans.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Shout out to Murray.
Shout out to Murray and the Bagpipers and the Shannon Rovers.
That is a good thing to do because it used to be done a lot and now it's being done less and soon it'll be done zero. So if you're still doing it, you're keeping things alive and that's Americana.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's send
Murray a shirt.
Let's send Murray a shirt. Murray, text me. We'll send you a shirt. No joke. Send me your address. All right. Next, we have a ski lift or a ski jump that has a little extra thing attached to it that I've never seen before, and that's why it's here. Ski lift bungee.
What is that for? Is that to train you for a jump, get you mentally prepared, or is it just for fun?
I think it's to train, but then I think that person was doing it for fun.
Okay, fair.
That's pretty cool, though.
You know, I've never been skiing.
Ever? That's okay.
I just skipped it. I skipped that one. I'm from the Midwest. I'm from the Great Plains.
Are there no hills there?
You could go to Wisconsin and do it if you want, but I mean, you know, we go sledding on hills.
Tubing?
Never skiing.
I've only been a few times, and then like as an adult, like the last 2 times I went was in college, and I tried snowboarding, and I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I was going too fast and I'd fall over. And then they said, you're a hazard to the mountain. We want to take you down in an injured person's sled. And I said, I'll just slide down on my butt, slid down, went down the mountain one time, and I was just done.
Hazard to the mountain.
Hazard to the mountain.
We can skip one. But that's a very white person's thing.
Yeah, so someone else keep that one alive.
Yeah.
That one has
Please.
no problem. All right, next we have a BMX kid who does a great job, and his dad, Huck, is a show watcher, and he sent me this. This is the BMX kid with Huck's wife, and look at the run he does.
I love you. I love you so much because. Okay, I'm gonna do it and be good for you. I'm gonna downward. Yes! Okay, ready?
Full flip?
That was sick. Full flip.
Wow.
Very cool. And the parents are there watching, and the dad's a show watcher.
That's very nice. And the mom loves the kid. The kid likes to show off for the mom. That's very healthy.
It's very good. It's very uplifting.
That's Americana.
All right, next.
Somebody keep that up.
Yeah, keep going.
We're assigning. Somebody play the bagpipes. Make sure you're going skiing. Keep this kid in the BMX show.
That's our job.
Yeah.
And next we have a funny clip from a funeral.
My grandfather would be proud.
They're releasing doves, and it's dead. All right, you got one. 2. Oh.
That's all right. The people start laughing. That's just funny, you know?
Yeah, it happens.
No big deal. And our last piece of uplifting gold for the whole show, this is just an easy meme. It's no big deal. It's not even hard. It's a base hit.
It's Friday.
Trump saved us twice, and it's a picture of Hillary next to Kamala.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
If they run a black woman, too, for this next election, they might go over 3, and then, like, at a certain point, you have to run Gavin Newsom, guys.
So true.
Or somebody like that, you know?
But imagine if their cheating was even better than it was, and they had Hillary, Kamala.
Ugh.
I think I would be illegal.
Yeah, I'd be dead.
I'd be in jail.
I'd be dead. They would have found me with fentanyl in my system. I'd be a drug addict of some kind.
I'd be 100% dead.
Yeah.
Well, that is the end of the show. We don't have shout outs today, but there is one. Happy birthday to Alexa Bednash. Her birthday was February 17th, and her boyfriend messaged me like a month ago, and I promised him I'd do it. And then I've been pushing him off and whatever. So happy birthday, Alexa. Hope you had a nice day.
Happy birthday, Alexa. You got a nice boyfriend there. You really guilted Fleccas into it.
You're the only shout out. You know we've been canceling them. And then she's also like a dispatcher for first responders. So thank you for your service. Lovely people. Happy birthday. And just as a little surprise, we're going to leave you guys now that we're at the end of the show. If you're not a bonus lander already, it's okay. But we're going to leave you with something tempting. Here is the trailer for Henchman Maxing 2. I know maybe it's been a while since you've seen it. Check it out. If you like it, go watch the full thing on FleccasTalks.com. If you're still watching now, FleccasTalks.com. 30-minute bonus land dropping right now, and a ton of other cool stuff. Specials, Q&As, all great things. Henchman Maxing 1 and 2. Here's the trailer. Thank you guys for watching. Have a nice weekend. We'll see you on Tuesday.
Now let's go over the plan. It's a whole bunch of pasta.
Those are boxes, papas.